We have these crossroads. And you know, either way you choose, your life is going to be different.
The universe doesn't exist, but God thinks it does.
We have to stop consuming our culture. We have to create culture.
Stupidity has a definite evolutionary function. I am all for abolishing stupidity, but before it goes, we should pay tribute to it.
Howdy and welcome to the Nonsense Bazaar. We're your hosts. I'm Willow Truman.
I'm Sequoia Kennedy.
Sequoia, we both have a history of being in the Scouts program, right?
Yeah.
Some of the best memories of my life. Some of the worst, too. Maybe not the worst.
It's definitely not the worst. Mostly some of the best from when I was Boy Scout.
Yeah, mine are mostly good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't make Eagle.
No. I stopped at cadets.
Yeah.
I was like the runt of my troop. I was kind of like, there's always one that's just a little bit pudgier, slower, weirder than the rest.
It's definitely a little weirder. I made it to Life Scout, which is right before Eagle. Mm-hmm. But that was also when I was getting into smoking weed and being a bad kid.
Oh, yeah.
That's 16, 17, right? But the troop, I understand why everyone had jobs in the troop, right? In the leadership of the troop. And, they made me the scribe, right?
That's fitting.
It's not, though. You have to be organized to be the scribe. They're just he's smart.
He wears glasses.
Scribe. Yeah. Little they know, the most ADHD rattled fuck on the planet. Yeah. The Scouts was fun, though.
I don't know. I'd rather be the scribe than the runt.
That wasn't we didn't have that title. Didn't have that badge.
No. Oh, it just takes me back to my softball years, too.
You played softball?
I did. Our team's motto was losing builds character, and I spent the season in the outfield.
Losing builds character.
Yeah, that was our motto. That whole my experience in softball was similar to my experience in Girl Scouts and my experience in ballet classes. I used to be too weird for group activities.
I did weirdly well in the structured hierarchy shit of Boy Scouts.
Awesome.
I wish
I did.
I was a great patrol leader. I was a great I forget what the fucking leadership titles were.
I was really there just to give my mom a break.
Yeah.
Well, the Scouts factors into today's episode because we're going to be talking about the Radioactive Boy Scout.
The Radioactive Boy Scout.
Yes. And this event that we'll be discussing, it took place before I was born, 1994.
Good year.
Quite the year.
It's the year my sister was born.
Very nice.
Yes.
Amazon and the PlayStation both launched that year.
Holy shit.
As did the less popular Sega Saturn.
I always wanted one.
Yeah. So gaming.
Yeah. The first some of the first 3D fucking polygonal video games. Yeah.
A lot of great albums and movies get released. Dummy by Portishead. Okay. Shawshank Redemption.
There we go.
Kurt Cobain committed suicide in 94.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is also the year that Radioactive Boy Scouts spot got blown up by the U.S. government. They were like, hey, what are you doing in your backyard shed?
What made him the Radioactive Boy Scout?
For those who don't know, David Hahn was a man who's known for his attempt to build a fast breeder nuclear reactor in his backyard shed when he was 17 years old.
Fuck yeah.
Which, by the way, there are no fast breeder reactors in the United States. They're only in India, Russia, Japan, and China. We tried to build 2 here, but they were shut down before they ever... Well, there was one that operated for 9 years, but then there were engineering problems.
What are those countries again?
India,
yeah,
Russia,
yeah,
Japan,
okay,
and China.
Okay, so apart from Japan, those countries all make me think, is it perhaps a dangerous way to do things?
Yeah. You see, the US, UK, France, and Germany have all shut down their fast breeder.
Yeah.
No, there's better ways of doing this. But this kid thought, no, the United States needs a fast breeder reactor.
In fact, my garage needs a fast breeder reactor.
Yes. But before we go any further, I'm going to do what we do. I'm going to pull a tarot card, and then we'll talk about it at the end.
Okay.
Well, isn't that interesting? We have the 5 of Wands.
Oh.
Quarrelsome.
radioactive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Five of Wands, Geberra in Atziluth, Sphere of Mars, of conflict.
These people
in the world of fire.
They're not working well together. I pulled this card when I was having some issues with my polyamorous relationship about a year ago.
That's about what. Yeah.
Yeah, I pulled that and I was like, oh no.
Also known as strife. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a fissile type of card.
I know.
I would say.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Too many cooks.
Spoils the pot. So we'll talk about the Five of Wands at the end.
All right. Thank God. I was afraid it was going to be Imagine Dragons.
I wouldn't do that to you.
I know.
Nuclear war. Nuclear war. They're talking about nuclear war. Nuclear war. The nuclear war. They're talking about nuclear war. It's a motherfucker. Don't you know? They're talking about nuclear war. They're talking about nuclear war. It's a motherfucker. Don't you know? It's a motherfucker. Don't you know? If they push that button, your ass gotta go. It's a motherfucker. Don't you know? If they push that button, your ass gotta go. They're talking about nuclear war. They're talking about.
Thanks, Sun Ra.
Sequoia, have you ever read The Making of the Atomic Bomb by Richard Rhodes?
No.
Neither have I.
Did he might have written the book about the making of the hydrogen bomb that I did read, though.
He was born on July 4th.
So many people were. My favorite July 4th birthday is Timothy Leary.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. He wrote Dark Sun, The Making of the Hydrogen.
Yeah, that's the one I read for our hydrogen bomb episode.
Yes. Well, I have not read The Making of the Atomic Bomb, but Charlie Warzel, a staff writer at the Atlantic, he did. And he first encountered the making of the atomic bomb while speaking with an AI researcher who was like, oh yeah, I lug that book around with me everywhere.
It's a thick book, dude. It's a big book.
Yeah. And he takes it with him everywhere as a reminder to push the bounds of technology and to work 17-hour days because tech bros are fucking insane.
They are.
Yeah. So after hearing about it from that one researcher who carries it with him everywhere, Warzel began hearing this book mentioned on podcasts and conversations. People who are afraid that artificial intelligence will doom us all. Vox's Dylan Matthews also recently wrote that tons of people working on AI policy who are reading Rhodes's book for inspiration.
Yeah.
There's also a New York Times profile of the AI company Anthropic who say that, yeah, all of our employees are reading that book.
Cool. I mean, look, all right, listen. The hydrogen bomb book, fantastic. It's amazing. Like, it's written so fucking well. And it shows a side of morally, ethically complicated science.
Yes.
In detail. Mm-hmm. I'm glad they're reading that fucking book.
Yeah.
You know, like, honest, like, and that's the last big, like, oh, this will change the world invention.
Right.
Yeah.
So Charlie Warzel, this writer for The Atlantic, thought, I should go talk to that guy and ask him, what do you think about all of this AI stuff? What do you think about the fact that all these people are reading your book?
Yeah.
So in his article, The Real Lesson from the Making of the Atomic Bomb, Warzel notes that, you know, he's a technology writer himself. So he's spent a lot of his career engaging with people that have an impulse to keep creating and exploring and experimenting, damn the consequences. And he wonders, you know, what is it with these people, these AI researchers who say that they're terrified of the things that they're actively working on to bring into existence? So what is it, is the question that he asks Richard Rhodes. What is it that makes these people want to open up Pandora's box.
Take 2 tabs and call me in the morning, Charlie.
Well, this was Richard's response.
Any great scientist before their 12th year has some formative experience that pushed them in the direction they were going in and made them decide they wanted to go through the grueling process of learning mathematics or science until they could push the boundaries. Enrico Fermi, the inventor of the first nuclear reactor and a chief architect of the atomic bomb, lost a beloved brother as a teenager, and not long after that he grew obsessed with measuring and quantifying all areas of life. He could tell you how many steps he'd walked down the street. He appeared so much like someone who found in numbers the kind of certainty that he'd lost when he lost his brother. As a 10-year-old, Leo Szilard had been so disturbed by a Hungarian epic about the sun dying that he grew fixated on rockets as a way to save the planet, a quest that eventually led him to discover the nuclear chain reaction.
Must have been a good movie.
Yeah, right? It's no coincidence that so many of the people who ended up in the bomb program were Jews who had escaped from Nazi Germany. They'd seen what was happening there. They were all around it, and they knew it was horrible and terrifying and had to be stopped.
Yeah, so this idea that people who are drawn towards Pandora's box that are like, I just want to be a part of making whatever the next thing is, being being a pioneer on the new frontiers of innovation.
You see something coming, and you see people running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and you realize, oh fuck, if I want this to be okay, I have to steer this.
Yep, I have to be a part of it.
Try to steer this. Yeah.
Yeah, and Rhodes's own childhood was marked by physical abuse, starvation at the hand of his stepmother. And he said, it's really not surprising that my books are about human violence and how we deal with it.
Yeah.
So there is this thing in great scientists, physicists, that have the similar qualities to the person that we're going to be talking about today, although his place in history is way freaking different.
Yeah.
But that propensity towards like a lot of greats, and not to diminish women's accomplishments either, but this is just true, are typically eldest boys, like the eldest brother. They're usually pretty reclusive, isolated, and spent a lot of their childhood reading books by themselves.
Yeah, we're fucking insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's a typical profile for a scientist. So usually just make a weirdo. You have to be a big weirdo that spends a lot of time thinking in order to make... Yeah.
And, and being an older brother is interesting because it's a very distinctive place in a family, I think. Your parents are figuring out how to be parents for the first time. You know, you're, especially if you're a boy, you're probably getting into fucking trouble, and they're figuring out how to deal with that. There's a boundary pushing aspect.
Right. And I was also thinking about this the other day. I think the reason why there's less perhaps famous female boundary pushers is because when you're growing into your role as a man, I think that it's easier to imagine yourself in the role of a great adventurer or hero, whereas women are kind of castigated into homemakers, caregivers, caretakers. So there's maybe not as much room to explore those greater aspects of...
Yeah, I mean, sometime soon I want to do an episode on Ada Lovelace.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think there's also for men growing up, it's you see yourself either as the great adventurer, the great general, or cannon fodder. Right? Like, and there is sort of this, like, if you're mediocre, you're expendable. Right. Type of thing that sort of pushes you towards a feeling that you need to be great or you're worthless.
Yeah.
It's toxic as fuck. But it makes Radioactive Boy Scouts.
It does. Evidently it does. So let's talk about him. David Hahn, he was born October 30th, 1976. David's parents, Ken and Patty Hahn, they divorced when he was just a little toddler. His dad, Ken, is an automotive engineer for General Motors. His second wife, Kathy, he married soon after the divorce. And David, when he was growing up, he would go in between his parents' house with his father and stepmother most of the time. They lived in this small split-level home in suburban Clinton Township. It's like 30 miles north of Detroit.
Okay.
And like I said, Ken Hahn, he worked for GM, automotive engineer,
In the heyday.
Ken Silverstein writes,
Ken Hahn worked extraordinarily long hours for GM. With close-cropped hair and a proclivity for short-sleeved dress shirts, Ken radiates a coolness that, combined with his constant preoccupation, must have been confounding to a child. When asked about his undemonstrative nature, Ken attributes it to his German ancestry. Yet for all his starchiness, it was Kathy who was David's chief disciplinarian. David spent weekends and holidays with his mother and her boyfriend, Michael Polasek, an amiable but hard-drinking retired forklift operator at GM.
Everybody works at GM.
Detroit, dude. Yeah. Yeah. Golf Manor is demographically similar to Clinton Township, but the two households could not have been more different. Could not have been more different emotionally. Patty Hahn committed suicide in the house a few years ago, but Michael still lives there with 5 cats surrounded by pictures of her.
Like, oh,
Jesus.
Okay, writer.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so he's going in between Clinton Township and Golf Manor, which are suburbs outside of Detroit, back and forth between these two households. And his early years are seemingly ordinary, but when he's interviewed and talks about his childhood, he expresses a dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
He did not feel connected to either set of parents.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, it kind of sounds like that.
Yeah, but he was involved in a lot of extracurriculars like baseball, soccer, Boy Scouts, hanging out with friends. Then an abrupt change happens within David around age 10 when Kathy's father, who's, by the way, also an engineer for GM.
Detroit?
Yep. He gives David the Golden Book of Chemistry experiments.
Uh-oh. Dangerous thing to give to a 10-year-old.
Oh, yeah. And he's immediately obsessed with replicating these experiments. By the age of 12, he's going through his dad's college chemistry textbooks. So he graduated from the Golden Book of Chemistry real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he would spend the nights at Golf Manor, his mom would often find him in the living room just surrounded by open encyclopedia volumes.
That's classic scene.
Yeah. Did you ever get in trouble as a kid for like reading when you're not supposed to?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Flashlight under the covers and everything.
Always.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm never like in trouble, really, but yeah.
I did. My mom would poke her head in and go, better get to sleep.
Well, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Always.
If I was in the living room surrounded by the encyclopedia, I'd definitely get a go to your room, or I might get a, kind of proud of her.
Yeah.
I don't know. Could go either way.
I'm always like, there was never one subject that got me like that, though. And I'm kind of like jealous of people who had that, you know?
Oh, David was very one-track mind. Once he got into chemistry, it was like, okay, this is my thing. I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So back at his dad's place in Clinton Township, David sets up a laboratory in his small bedroom, and his bookshelf has books on it like Prudent Practices for Handling Hazardous Chemicals in Laboratories and The Story of Atomic Energy. He's got beakers in there, Bunsen burners, test tubes, all sorts of shit.
Hell yeah.
By 14, he figured out how to make nitroglycerin.
Fuck yeah.
He also had damaged the fuck out of the carpet.
That'll happen.
Bunch of like chemical spills everywhere. Blasts became a regular occurrence.
Hell yeah.
That's when the experimentation was moved to the basement.
Yeah.
His stepmom Kathy is like, no.
You can't. Carpets are expensive, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So given that his experimentation, I feel like he used it as a wall between him and the world. Like,
yeah.
Maybe not on purpose, but it just ended up happening that way.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it.
I think every kid has that thing that they sort of...
Yeah. It's their personal thing.
Leave me alone. I'm making music. Leave me alone. I'm drawing, or I'm playing video games, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
For him, it was leave me alone. I'm blowing shit up.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So he's fine with the basement arrangement. He's like, you want to send me to the basement?
Hell yeah.
I'm cool with that. Yeah, I'll be down there all day. You won't ever see me. So this gives him an opportunity to create and destroy to his heart's content, to break the rules, and to also be really good at something, because David wasn't great in other subjects.
Yeah.
He was really great at chemistry. He couldn't spell for crap, though.
Well, actually, you should probably know how to spell if you're going to be good at chemistry. You got all those letters next to each other, you know?
He was falling behind in school. During his junior year at Chippewa Valley High School, while he was secretly conducting nuclear experiments, he nearly failed math and reading tests that were required for graduation. Of course, he did fine in science, but every other subject, like, what? Nope. One of his teachers, Ken Gerardini, taught David conceptual physics and remembers him, as most students with severe ADHD, he was an excellent pupil on the rare occasion that he was interested in what was being discussed. Otherwise, didn't hand anything in, not present, not paying attention.
Yep, that's what, yeah. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I resemble that remark.
You have such great potential. You just need to know how to
apply yourself.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
I don't do homework. That's my identity.
I'm at school for 8 hours a day and you want me to do homework?
There was only 6.
How dare you? Oh, yeah. Whatever. Feels like 8.
Feels like a lot more than why I just stopped going.
Did you?
Senior year, I was just not there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absent. I'm proud of this. If you remember how many days a school year is, right? I was absent 100 days.
Wow.
I was tardy 80 days.
Oh my God. Yeah, you really were barely there.
I fucking was not there senior year.
Were you off trying to collect every element from the periodic table?
It's mostly smoking weed.
That's what David was trying to do.
And playing with recording software and shit. And yeah.
Similar.
Yeah. Yeah, there was gadgets involved for sure. A lot of woods involved too. I actually spent a lot of time just in the fucking woods, which was nice.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Who needs to go to school when you have the school right in your backyard? It's the woods.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. We a couple friends had dropped out, so they were home. And we just go over there. We just fucking run off into the woods.
It's the dropout squad.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
We weren't like, we were the kids listening to like Radiohead and Modest Mouse and MGMT and like smoking cigarettes and wearing corduroy and shit. Very mellow. Mm-hmm. Very mellow fuck ups.
Yeah. Like you fucked up quietly.
Yeah.
It was a soft fuck up.
It was a soft fuck up. They still got me out of there. Like I didn't know if I was going to graduate until my name got called to walk up there. I wasn't sure because like I wasn't supposed to, but like I'm pretty sure they're just like, you just gotta get
fuck it.
Yeah. I always showed up for band though.
Nice.
Yeah, I was first alto saxophone in the wind ensemble.
Oh.
It's one of the best in the country.
Share.
Yeah, so I didn't want to. I had a responsibility.
So you got to show up for that.
Yeah, I never fucking missed that shit. I'm pretty sure Dan Coyne put in a good word for me and got me graduating. The band director. Thanks, bud.
Kept you from having to stay a year behind. We had a guy in our senior year that was like 20 years old.
Ooh.
I'm like, bro.
Yeah, bro.
You gotta get out of here.
You're moving along there, bud.
It's starting to get weird. You can't be dating freshmen.
Yeah, dude.
Anymore.
No.
It's your 3rd year in a row as a senior dating freshmen. It's getting.
Ooh.
Yeah, I wonder whatever became of him. So.
These legends say he's still there today.
Wow, he would be old now.
Yeah.
David held a series of after-school jobs at fast food joints, grocery stores, furniture warehouses, but the reason why he was working was to finance his experiments, and that's the sole reason.
Yeah.
Like, really, truly one-track mind on this fellow.
I wonder if he was aware of Jack Parsons.
I hope so.
Probably not, because the book wasn't written. Yeah, there was no books about Jack at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's the same damn thing.
He did manage to hold down a girlfriend, Heather Baudet, who was 3 years his junior. Heather told Ken Silverstein that David was a sweet and caring boyfriend. One time she returned home from a vacation to Florida, and there was a whole bunch of love letters waiting for her.
Aw.
Sweet. But he was also admittedly weird. Like, Heather's mom, Donna, said he was a nice kid, always presentable, but before my second wedding, we had to tell him not to talk to anybody. He could eat and drink, but for God's sake, don't talk to the guests about the food's chemical composition.
Oh, come on. It's interesting.
Yeah.
If I was there, I'd want him to talk to me about it.
Y'all are boring.
Yeah.
He definitely had a reputation for being an oddball. One time, he appeared at a Boy Scout meeting looking like an Oompa Loompa because he'd overdosed on something called canthaxanthin. Canthaxanthin.
Okay. Canthaxanthin.
He was trying to test out methods of artificial tanning. So he took whatever this is, turned orange.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Experimentation.
Yeah.
Imagine this being like your friend or boyfriend. He's just always showing up.
I would love to have this kid as a buddy.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Half his eyebrow is burned off. You're like,
hell yeah.
What did you get up to last night?
So fun.
Yeah. You'd have really bad radiation poisoning, though.
That wouldn't be fun.
No, that would not be fun.
And you would, too, because you wouldn't fucking realize what you were getting into.
Yeah. He can't get it off him. Another summer at scout camp, David's fellow campers blew a hole in their tent when they accidentally ignited the stockpile of powdered magnesium that David had brought with him in order to make fireworks.
I mean, you get up to shit at Boy Scout camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next year, he was expelled because while his friends were sneaking into the nearby Girl Scouts camp, David was stealing smoke detectors to disassemble them.
I wonder if he was at fucking Yagu in Rhode Island, because it's a huge scout camp. And there's a Girl Scout camp like across the
Maybe. He probably went to
lake.
one in Michigan.
There are people troops from all over.
Oh, cool.
Go there. It's a big ass Boy Scout camp.
He might have been.
Maybe.
In any case, his stepmother, Kathy, was like, he was always screwing up our summer vacations. Boy Scout camp, calling us, being like, you got to bring this kid home.
He's stealing all the smoke detectors.
He was stealing all the smoke detectors because, you see, David had begun to conduct more and more elaborate experiments.
I know it's in smoke detectors.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that. If you're going to try and procure every element off the periodic chart, you have to get creative, right?
Yeah.
So after David learned that there's a tiny amount of americium-241, a radioactive isotope that can be found in smoke detectors, he started stealing them from every place he could.
Oh my God.
Schools, camps, places that he worked. He also contacted smoke detector companies claiming that he needed a large amount for a school project.
Fucking wholesalers.
One company sold him 100 broken detectors for $1 a piece. But then he couldn't figure out where the americium was located.
Yeah.
So he wrote to an electronics firm in Illinois, and a customer service representative wrote back saying, "Oh yeah, I'm happy to help you out with your school report and tell you exactly where you can find that."
Yeah, I mean, no one is thinking this kid's gonna build a fucking reactor.
No, they're not. So thanks to that very nice customer service representative, David extracted the material and put the americium inside of a hollow block of lead with a little tiny hole pricked in one side so that alpha rays would stream out.
Yeah.
Then he put a sheet of aluminum in front of the block.
Yeah.
And so that its atoms would absorb alpha rays and kick out neutrons.
Okay.
He built a fucking neutron gun.
Hell yeah. What does that do? What's the point?
I don't know.
Neutron generators are used in acceleration of breeder reactors.
Mm-hmm. Basically step one.
Yeah.
He's completed step one.
Yeah.
So until
he already has the idea in his head at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up until this point, like the most illicit things that David had made were moonshine, fireworks. Now he's got a neutron gun.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But his parents, Ken and Kathy, they are not convinced that David's not making meth or something. They're like, what do you need all these beakers for? You're acting weird. You're staying up all night.
I'm doing something far stranger, Mom and Dad.
Yeah. It's like, no, I swear I'm just at the library. So they start going to the library to check to see, is he actually there?
Yeah.
Sure enough, he would be there, surrounded by a bunch of chemistry books, but they're still worried. They're like, okay, so
they know something's wrong.
So you're not making meth, but we're still scared that you're going to blow up our home. So you're not allowed to be at the house by yourself anymore. If they had to leave the house for something, they would lock him out and like change the locks. Even if they had to go run an errand, he would be banished from the home while they were not there. He could not be unsupervised.
Jesus.
Kathy also began searching his room regularly and just disposing of anything that she would find that she deemed suspicious. Chemicals, equipment, and she would find stuff hidden under the bed or deep in the closet. David, you got to get a better hiding place. Well, he did. He got his mom's shed. So, not one to be slowed down, you know, by Kathy going through his room and throwing away his stuff and being locked out. One night, Ken and Kathy are just in the living room watching TV. All of a sudden, loud explosion coming from the basement. Uh-oh, run down there. David's lying semi-unconscious on the floor. His eyebrows are smoking. He had been unaware that red phosphorus is pyrophoric, and he had been pounding it with a screwdriver, which ignited it.
Oh my God.
So he was rushed to the hospital to have his eyes flushed, but even months later, he would keep having to go back to the ophthalmologist to have pieces of phosphorus plucked from his eyes.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's when Kathy said, no fucking more. You're not experimenting at all. Well, this is where the benefit of having two sets of parents comes in. Because guess what? Mom doesn't know about any of it. I mean, she knows that her son's a nerd and is really into chemistry.
Yeah, it sounds like that mom's house wasn't really...
That wasn't the hub for experimentation. That
also wasn't the more... There was a less... they had less watchful eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So... this is when the base of operations shifted to Mom's potting shed over in Golf Manor. And Patty and her boyfriend, Michael, they kind of admired David. You know, they thought it was weird and they didn't really understand or know what he was up to. But they thought that he was just so smart and that stuff was going over their heads. Like, Michael specifically says that David would try to explain the experiments to him, but he realized, I don't understand any of this.
Yeah.
So not only are they not checked into what he's doing and not concerned, they're kind of impressed.
Yeah. I mean, as you kind of should be.
Right.
Like if you don't
a lot of dedication.
Understand how dangerous what he's doing is.
Or if you don't really understand what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, if you think, oh, my kid's just doing science experiments in the garage, how studious.
My asshole ex-husband and his asshole wife
kicked him out
because they're fucking worry warts. Yeah, use the potting shed.
Yeah. Patty and Michael did find it a little bit odd how David would wear a gas mask in the shed.
Well, safety first, you know?
True. Or how he would take off his clothes after being Yeah, he'd like come inside the house at 2 a.m. just naked, left his clothes outside.
Safety first.
Safety first. They didn't really get it. And again, they chalked it up to their own being dumbasses. They were like, I guess we're just too stupid. Now, one thing that stuck out to Michael, his mom's boyfriend, was that David said his whole purpose for doing this was, we're going to run out of oil at some point. And he wants us to have nuclear energy. So it was about, he had this environmental slant, which is kind of ironic given the fact that his experiments were very environmentally damaging and irresponsible.
Well, yeah, but he was a kid. I mean, you know.
He was a kid.
If you fucking want to get into the nuclear power thing and it being, you know, the only fucking chance we have of developing clean energy, you know, because the thing about fucking breeder reactors and shit, like theoretically, it's way too expensive to do, but there's using seawater uranium extraction, there's theoretically enough fuel for breeder reactors to satisfy the world's energy needs for 5 billion years.
Yeah, so I understand his desire.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. It's super. I mean, like uranium's fucking super abundant. There's so much uranium, just fucking everywhere, right? And like the fucking problem with nuclear power is that they subsidized one specific way of fucking building reactors, didn't maintain them, and then like those fuckers decay. They break down and shit. There's other ways to do it. God damn it.
Yeah.
In addition to seawater, the average crustal granite rocks contain significant quantities of uranium and thorium that with breeder reactors can supply abundant energy for the remaining lifespan of the sun on the main sequence of stellar evolution.
Yeah, I see what he's getting at.
Absolutely.
And, you know, when his mom and her boyfriend are like, oh, maybe he's just operating at a different level than us, they're not wrong either.
They're not wrong.
Like, he totally is. I feel like it's probably difficult for him to relate to his peers because of how singularly minded he is in his focus and how intelligent he is on this one specific thing while having all of these blind spots.
Yeah.
I imagine that when he looks at the world, he looks at an object and is thinking about its chemical composition. Like, that's just how his brain works.
Yeah.
He sees what elements make things up. He's thinking about, like, what is in this microphone in front of me.
Yeah.
And just a totally different way of seeing the world than most people.
That's a really cool way of seeing the world, honestly.
It is.
It's just that, it's just radioactive shit happens to be especially dangerous.
Right. And I also wonder if he kind of fucked himself over by exposing himself to a bunch of dangerous chemicals, and that led to him not being able to really do anything with this knowledge in a meaningful capacity.
Do you mean like made him a little fucking crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Right?
could see that. Yeah.
Because really, I mean, he built the damn thing.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But in terms of scientific achievements or recording his name in the history book, he's just known for creating a big disaster. He did the opposite of what he set out to do. And it's like, okay, well, how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, he's a kid and had no one who understood him to like guide him and provide like mentorship. And
That's true. There's no mentor for somebody like this. Like, our society doesn't know what to do with somebody like this.
No,
because we want to have a standardized set of education where all of the kids have a rudimentary knowledge of all these things.
Precisely. Yeah.
It's not really specialized.
And that doesn't help outliers in either direction.
Yeah. There's not a lot of room for artisans or people to be apprenticeships. You know?
Oh, just like there's not a lot of.
It's all been homogenized.
Broadly speaking, there's not a lot of roadmaps for the types of people that actually end up doing the shit that changes the world.
Right.
So
he was hoping that he could change the world, deal with the energy crisis. And being a scout, David also learned that he could continue to gain more materials for his project through camping lanterns, which contain the radioactive element thorium.
Yeah.
The mantle and gas lanterns, the small cloth pouch over the...
Oh, yeah. We use those all the time in Scouts.
It's coated with a compound that contains thorium-232.
Okay.
And when bombarded with neutrons, it produces uranium-233, which is fissionable.
Yeah.
So David bought thousands of lantern mantles from surplus stores and then used a blowtorch to like turn them into a pile of ash. And there you go.
And then blasted it with his neutron gun.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah. So
it's fucking brilliant.
To isolate the thorium from the ash, he purchased $1,000 worth of lithium batteries and then cut them in half with wire cutters. And he placed the lithium and thorium ash together in a ball of aluminum foil and then heated up the ball with a Bunsen burner, which purified the thorium to at least 9,000 times the level found in nature and up to 170 times the level that would require nuclear regulatory commission license. These are unauthorized experiments.
Hell yeah.
He's not supposed to be doing this.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I can't help but love it.
Mm-hmm. See, David was a little bit upset that his americium gun wasn't strong enough to transform the thorium into uranium.
Yeah.
So he's got to continue the crusade.
Yeah.
Keep going.
You gotta.
Haven't built the reactor yet. So David manages to snag some radium for himself from clocks.
Yep.
Just going around getting the clocks, getting the smoke detectors, camping lanterns, just normal stuff. You really don't need to get too fancy with it to do some crazy shit.
No, you don't.
Don't get any bright ideas, listeners.
Oh, they'll be on you like flies on shit for this now.
God.
You're not getting away with that.
No. So he gets radium from these clocks and he combines all of the radioactive elements together and he makes the Powerpuff Girls. No. He constructs a type of nuclear reactor known as, what we've been talking about this whole time, a breeder reactor.
Yeah.
First, he takes a large block of lead, drills a large hole in it.
Yep.
From there, you gotta have enough lithium to power the thing, which he has from the batteries. Then he fired up the old Bunsen burner, purifies the thorium, in doing so, releases the uranium, and now, voila, his very own homemade breeder reactor.
And so what a breeder reactor does, you should say, like what the point of it is. I'm not looking at the script, so I don't know if that's...
Yeah, no, go for it.
So it's the type of reactor that produces more fissile material than it consumes.
Precisely.
Yeah, so it's a way to get fissile nuclear material. Right.
And then it's like a self-sustaining thing too, right?
Yeah. Well,
in some cases, they produce more fuel than they consume. Okay,
yeah. So basically, like the idea of breeder reactors is, we all know that like radioactive waste is bad. Mm-hmm. What if you could turn the radioactive waste into more fuel for the reactor and use that again, right? So that's the point of them making more fissile material than they consume. And then they use that to keep the reaction going to generate, energy, heat, right? That's all you're ever doing with energy generation is you're just making fucking energy. Heat, like boiling water, using the steam to fucking spin turbines to generate electricity. Yeah, it's a breeder reactor is just a way to, theoretically achieve more sustainable nuclear power by being able to do something with the waste, essentially.
Yep.
It seems like it's not that useful. Like it's a interesting concept, but it doesn't seem to be that useful of a fucking nuclear reactor.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not the be all end all that he thought it was going to be.
Right. But you can kind of see like why he might at that time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this was 94, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, David's obviously really smart, but he wasn't able to learn how to do all of this just by himself from his chemistry books.
No?
Yeah, he would pose as a high school science teacher, other times as a professor of physics, and write to numerous nuclear industry entities.
Oh my God.
Including the Nuclear Regulatory Commission itself. Yeah, the NRC. Yep. Wow. They told him how to fucking do it.
Amazing.
By simply lying online and through the phone and through letters, David developed a network of professional colleagues to, against their knowledge, guide him in building a breeder reactor.
Incredible.
Fucking incredible. Would you please read this excerpt by Ken Silverstein?
David managed to engage the agency's director of isotope production and distribution, Donald Erb, in a scientific discussion by mail. Erb offered David tips on isolating certain radioactive elements, provided a list of isotopes that can sustain a chain reaction, and imparted a piece of information that would soon prove to be vital to David's plans. Nothing produces neutrons as well as beryllium. When David asked Erb about the risks posed by such radioactive materials, the NRC official assured Professor Hahn that the real dangers are very slight, since possession of any radioactive materials in quantities and forms sufficient to pose any hazard is subject to Nuclear Regulatory Commission or equivalent licensing.
Yeah.
David says the NRC also sent him pricing data and commercial sources for some of the radioactive wares he wanted to purchase, ostensibly for the benefit of his eager students. The NRC gave me all the information I needed, he later recalled. All I had to do was go out and get the materials.
Yeah. I wonder, so he's like writing these letters.
Yeah.
And he can't spell. Do you think that that's part of it? They're like, surely this guy who can't even like,
oh my God,
spell isn't doing anything dangerous.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, and also just like, no one thinks that you're fucking buying a bunch of camping lanterns and purifying the fucking thorium.
No.
No one's gonna suspect that. No one in a million years would ever do such a ridiculous thing.
I love the charade.
He's got gumption.
Yeah. He was dedicated.
He was gonna build a fucking nuclear reactor.
No matter what he did, he was gonna build something.
He was gonna fucking build a goddamn reactor. It's insane.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, David's efforts were put to an end after someone called the Clinton Township Police on August 31st, 1994. He had been stopped on suspicion of stealing tires.
What? Was he stealing tires? What would he use the tires for?
Maybe there was some... who knows?
Who knows?
Authorities searched his car, and David warned them, be careful. There are radioactive materials in this car. Which caused...
Safety first.
Yeah. Which caused the police to say, I think we should get the Department of Energy in here.
Yeah.
Also, the Environmental Protection Agency.
Yeah.
Also, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Also, the FBI.
Yeah.
We need to... all of it. What do you mean you have radioactive materials in your car?
Yeah, like that's... I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Imagine just being a cop in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Just don't touch that.
Don't touch that, officer. It's radioactive.
Yeah.
It's a good thing David wasn't black.
I know, really. So it took a whole year from his arrest until the backyard shed would finally be dismantled and cleaned up as a Superfund site.
Whoa.
A whole year. They just let it sit.
It was a Superfund site, too.
It was a Superfund.
Holy shit.
And if you don't know what that is, this is from the EPA's website. The Superfund program is responsible for cleaning up the most contaminated land and responding to what are environmental emergencies like oil spills, natural disasters. Okay, even though the EPA had been established for 10 years, it wasn't until December 11th, 1980 that President Jimmy Carter signed into law the Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act, CERCLA, or as we know it, Superfund. And this is what gives the EPA the authority to go and clean up hazardous waste sites and spills and just come on in and be like, okay.
Because you know there's a Superfund site near us. Did you know that?
I did not. No.
I'm gonna cut any geography information. And I knew some kids that rode in the trails back there. And they saw like purple and orange shit bubbling out of the ground and stuff.
Yeah, that's not the cannabis doing that.
No. No.
Weed don't make you hallucinate like that.
Weed?
I mean, I can imagine if you're just smoking weed and you're like out wandering and you see some purple haze on the ground or whatever.
No, this is goo.
Oh, God.
Because what they do is they just light pallets of shit on fire. And like, I think they have better practices now, but for a while, that was just going into the fucking ground.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, dude.
Good Lord.
Yeah. I'd say burn them the fuck down, but I don't. That might be
that would make the problem.
I think it might make it worse. Yeah.
The cleanup of the shed began earnestly, and the total cost amounted to, surprisingly, I thought it would be higher. It was only $60,000.
I can see he didn't have that much.
Yeah. But even with this cleanup, it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
When they finally got there.
Well, it was small. Like it was a geographically small.
Yeah.
Radioactive hell site.
Still, almost 40,000 residents were deemed to have been exposed to dangerous levels of radiation.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It was really irradiated.
40,000?
Yeah.
So it spread.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes at night, neighbors said that they could see the shed, like, it would glow green.
What?
Like it would like flash and they would see it glow in neon for a second.
Oh my God.
So he was, yeah.
He had a fucking reactor.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ, Dave.
This finally was all cleaned up on June 26, 1995. Here's a bit about that day from a neighbor's perspective.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Potentially exposed, but still, god damn. All right. As Dottie Pierce turned down Pinto Drive, she saw 11 men swarming across her carefully manicured lawn. Aw, Dottie. Their attention seemed to be focused on the backyard of the house next door, specifically on a large wooden potting shed that abutted the chain-link fence dividing her property from her neighbors. 3 of the men had donned ventilated moon suits and were proceeding to dismantle the potting shed with electric saws, stuffing the pieces of wood into large steel drums emblazoned with radioactive warning signs. Pease had never noticed anything out of the ordinary at the house next door. A middle-aged couple, Michael Polasek and Patty Hahn, lived there. On some weekends, they were joined by Patty's teenage son, David. As she huddled with a group of nervous neighbors, though, Pease heard one resident claim to have awoken late at night to see the potting shed emitting an eerie glow.
Yeah. Also, David's blonde, but his hair has, like, fully turned green.
What?
From these experiments.
Green?
Yeah, his hair turned green.
Holy shit.
He also had, like burns on himself, but his hair turned green. That's interesting.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I gotta see this. I'm honestly surprised at, like, the green. Like, that's just so comic book.
It is.
But I guess it comes from somewhere. Oh, he's exactly what I thought he looked like.
Yeah.
Wait, he doesn't have green hair. What are you talking about?
You don't see it? You don't see, like, the tint?
I see green tinted skin. I see a bunch of burn marks on him. God damn. Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, you found that picture.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't show up great in pictures, and it probably only happened for a brief period of time.
Right. He probably didn't
Hair grows.
Right. Oh, I see the green tent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some pictures where it's more obvious than others.
Wow.
I wonder, like, what his days were like. Like, what did he eat? You know?
Dude, he had bologna sandwiches and you fucking know it.
Exactly. A lot of them.
Yeah. Bologna and mustard on fucking rye. Bit of mayonnaise. That's what that boy ate.
And that's it.
That's it.
And it shows.
Shit. Yeah, that wasn't the radiation burns that did that to his skin.
No, that was the bologna.
Yeah.
So following the scandal, I don't think he was ever arrested for this or anything, which should be something that's included in my episode, but wasn't, because I don't think that he ever was. But it's just hitting me now. That's kind of weird that no consequences were faced for this. He just joined the Navy after.
Really?
Yeah. It was like, peace out. I'm going to the military. And I'm also going to be really depressed because I can't do my experiments anymore. Everybody's calling me Radioactive Boy. Wah.
God damn.
Yeah. He also, we barely even touched on the whole Eagle Scout thing. I'm part of the whole reason why he was doing this is because he was inspired by all these merit badges that he could get for doing these places. Now he's been kicked out of Eagle Scouts. The worst blow of them all.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I am 34 years old, and I am ashamed that I never made Eagle. It sticks with you.
Oh, you know what? They allowed him to stay.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. They only had discussions about stripping him of his title. Good for them.
Good. Yeah. Yep.
They didn't need to kick him while he's down.
No. Jesus.
Yeah, but his hopes of becoming a nuclear specialist were all but destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, he'd now been banned from ever touring or visiting nuclear facilities, so he can't ever work at one.
Right.
He's not allowed to go there. So eventually, he finds his way into the military, and his life just takes this directionless turn. You know, before he was singularly focused, he had this goal that he was working on, as wild as it might have been. Now he's kind of just floating around. He gets arrested again in 2007 after a maintenance worker catches him stealing smoke detectors.
He can't quit.
The police also find 15 other smoke detectors in his apartment.
What's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Whoa. He apparently distributed flyers promoting his book and upcoming film. Oh, he's still stealing fucking... Oh, prior to his Navy service, theft of tires and rims. And a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That evaded me.
FBI agents then interviewed an individual whose identity was not released, who stated Hahn was using cocaine heavily, was not taking his prescribed medication, was paranoid about people who he claimed, quote, had the ability to shock his genitals with their minds.
Ooh, that's a bad one.
Oh, yeah. And had possibly been visited by prostitutes. That's fucking fine. Who cares? This individual also stated that he believed Hahn was still trying to build a reactor and was collecting radium.
He definitely was.
Oh,
he never stopped.
Yeah. Stated he didn't believe Hahn had any intentions of hurting anyone, but was concerned about his mental state.
Rightfully so, it seems.
Yeah. Dick shocks. Yeah.
So he does plead guilty to attempted larceny of a building because he's trying to steal smoke detectors from an apartment complex.
Yeah.
He gets 90 days in jail. He dies in 2016, and they find diphenhydramine in his system.
Yep.
And alcohol and cocaine. Fentanyl. Now, citing a toxicology and autopsy report, Ken Hahn, David's father, said his son did indeed have a dangerous level of blood alcohol content, 0.404. Fucking mind not found, 404.
Yeah. Oof.
He was found late in the evening on September 26, 2016. Would you mind reading the statement from his father?
Along with fucking fentanyl and Benadryl. Jesus.
What a mix.
Yeah.
That's unhappiness. That's paranoid schizophrenia in a...
That's suicide.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Dave was shopping at Walmart to get some food. It was around 10:30 p.m. at night, and I guess he went to get some groceries. They found him in the restroom about 20 minutes later, deceased. There was no way to revive him. Yeah.
He died in a Walmart bathroom.
Yeah,
That's really fucking sad.
Yeah, he checked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fucking sad.
Yeah. I think he checked out pretty much, I don't know, as soon as it was declared a Superfund site and he couldn't do the nuclear thing anymore. Or had to do it in secret, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just realized, my dream is never going to happen.
And not only that, but now people are probably even more scared of the technology that you really believed was gonna, help save the world.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's gotta suck so fucking bad. Oh, there's more to this quote. My bad. Prior to his death, Hahn accompanied his son to the Veterans Administration Hospital for quarterly routine checkups. Medical staff there found no lingering ill effects from the earlier radiation exposure. That's good. The father and son lived about a half mile away from one another. At the time of his death, Kenneth Hahn said, David was in school taking 3 classes and was going to get his ASE certification to work as a major mechanic. Kenneth Hahn said previously that his son had served as a sniper and master helmsman aboard the USS Enterprise, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. I'm proud of my son, and I'm very sad that he's gone. He could have done a lot more in this world.
I mean, it must have been fun for him to be on a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, at least.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But he was honorably discharged on medical grounds, so I wonder if he was having mental health problems.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, the timeline would make sense for schizophrenia to develop if he went into the Navy after his arrest and, his reactor was torn down.
Yeah.
He'd be in the Navy when he was in his early 20s, and that's about when that happens.
I got mixed up because he was using cocaine. He didn't die from it, but he was using it. And that's something that does not mix very well with paranoid delusions.
No, it doesn't.
At all. No. At all. Nor does Benadryl, for that matter, or alcohol, or any alcohol. Substances, really. Like,
you know what does? Nicotine.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yep, it's actually true that nicotine lessens the symptoms of schizophrenia.
Yeah,
it's fucking insane.
God, I was reading about Ezra Miller earlier.
Yeah,
one of the things that he freaked out at someone about was she didn't let him smoke a cigarette in her house, and then he had a total meltdown.
Just fucking go outside, bro. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know. Really, go outside.
What the fuck is wrong with you? That's a hell of a question to ask Ezra Miller. What the fuck is wrong with you?
But no, nicotine is a huge comfort to people with schizophrenia.
The effect of nicotine on the brain is very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. And it legitimately does treat the symptoms of schizophrenia.
Yeah, there's an odd statistic. I'm not sure what it is, but it's a very high percentage of schizophrenics that smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, like a huge percentage.
Right.
Yeah.
Like more than the normal population.
Yeah, because it legitimately helps them.
Yeah.
Also, nicotine, smoking cigarettes lowers your chances of brain cancer by 80%, according to a study I read, which is the same percentage that it raises your chances of getting lung cancer smoking cigarettes, which
wild.
Percentages up and percentages down are two very different. They work out differently. Yeah. You know what I mean? But still.
But still, I want to wrap up our episode talking about the idea of complementarity. You know, when you have two statements that contradict one another, but somehow both are correct.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's what that is. It's this idea that measurements of quantum events provide complementary information through contradictory results. Basically, you need different opposite ways of thinking about the same thing if you want to ever make complete sense of it.
Yeah.
And the complementarity principle is something that I find necessary to incorporate into my research process and into life in general. Otherwise, cognitive dissonance would overwhelm the crap out of me all the time.
Yeah.
You know, how can I be so pissed off at my mom, but also love her with all my heart and need to take care of her?
Applied maybe logic.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So this idea from quantum physics of complementarity comes to us primarily physicist Niels Bohr, who traveled to Los Alamos to impart this information to Oppenheimer during the darkest days of the Manhattan Project. And he explained how objects have conflicting properties that can't be observed at the same time.
Yeah.
Things contain multitudes.
Absolutely.
So, yes, we're concerned about this weapon of potential mass destruction. But hey, this also has the potential to completely change the condition of warfare as we know it, and the whole structure of international politics. So sure, we might destroy the world, but what if we end the war and change the world?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that is to say, this terrible weapon also has the potential to simultaneously be a beneficial tool. I
mean, look, if you look at a chart of casualties in war from from when rifles were invented through World War II, now there's a lot of bad fucking wars that happened after World War II too.
Oh yeah.
Right.
We found new ways of doing horrifying stuff.
Oh yeah. And we always will. But from the fucking Franco-Prussian War to World War I, right? World War I was a scale of destruction never before seen. Ever. Go listen to Dan Carlin's fucking Blueprint for Armageddon series to realize why they didn't teach you about World War I, because it's fucking horrifying. Mm-hmm. And then World War II, World War I shocked the shit out of people by what happened with this new technology and all that shit. And then World War II happened. And there was a level of civilian destruction never before imagined. Ever. And so the world was in the process of being destroyed.
Yeah.
Cities were burning. This shit was global conflagration that was destroying everything. So, so everything's getting destroyed anyway. We can make one thing that we can hang over everybody's head and say, hey, either we stop this or you get the bomb dropped on you. You can understand the thought process to grossly oversimplify it. Right.
Yeah.
But and unless you were there, you're never going to fully understand it either.
Yeah. So it's interesting to me, this idea that I don't know, we built this apocalyptic super weapon that has actually ended up being more or less a flawed agent of change and peace, Yeah. And it also made me think about how the opposite could happen, where we try to build something that's good and is going to help humans, but instead we make something that just causes catastrophe and we didn't foresee the ways that it would fuck us up. Social media. The devil falls with the best laid plans after all. So,
yeah.
And that all ties back to David Hahn, because to me, the biggest fear regarding progress, thinking about back to the beginning of the episode with the whole AI thing, Richard Rhodes, technological progress and otherwise, this path that we're on moving forward, it's undefined, and it seems to be moving more and more quickly the more the time moves forward. Progress seems to be happening at a faster pace, and that is overwhelming, because there are things where there are systems that we create for an intended purpose that then end up working against their intended purpose. And it makes me think about David Hahn's attitude towards progress and innovation, and this devil may care attitude that he had. Very singular, very purpose driven, moving quickly, and he wasn't really working within a system. It was like a system of one. It was like he was in a closed loop in his own mind. Because when I read about him, there weren't people in his life other than his parents talking about him. There was a high school teacher that had a blurb about how here's what he was like as a student. Yeah. But did he have friends? Did he have loved ones? Did he have people that he was important to?
Right.
He didn't.
He didn't have collaborators.
He didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that was really the fatal flaw.
Yeah. I mean, I would also did anyone actually suffer adverse effects from the radiation?
Maybe.
They're not written about.
He did.
He's
the one that really
survived,
suffered the most. Yeah.
He survived.
Yeah.
He disrobed before entering the house. He tried to take the best safety precautions he could. Right? Mm-hmm. Honestly, maybe dude shouldn't have had his future destroyed. You know what I mean?
I'm surprised, I don't know. If I was the government and I was like, this kid's building a reactor in his backyard,
job,
you want a job?
Honestly, what the fuck?
You seem like you could be a potentially dangerous supervillain. Why don't we utilize your mind for good?
I mean, what if maybe they made a psychological assessment?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
honestly kind of possible. But he did, he was able to join the Navy, but so he didn't get disqualified from that, so they could have just given him a fucking job.
Right.
That's what I would have done. Because okay, it's dangerous, but I don't know.
I'm also sure that the FBI getting on his case in 2007 did not help the whole paranoid schizophrenia thing when they contacted him to be like, hey, we heard about the whole smoke detector thing. Are you...
You still stealing smoke detectors?
You're not thinking about becoming a terrorist or anything, are you?
Well, the FBI famously has no sense of humor.
They're like, I don't know. They might have laughed at the shocking his genitals bit.
True. Well, that's not funny.
Well, they're laughing because they're the ones doing it.
They're the ones doing it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
So let's connect this to the Five of Wands, which strife, conflict, it's 5 people just fighting over all their wands, even though they all have wands.
Well, it's radiation, right?
Yeah.
And it's... The thing about radiation is that it's sort of famously disruptive and chaotic and hard to control. It's the idea of this kid getting really interested in nuclear science and getting like obsessed and almost addicted to it is very interesting to me.
Me too.
Because it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But yet it is one of those things that like gets people. Mm-hmm. And they get fucking really obsessed with it. And it does. This dude fucking made his goddamn potting shed glow at night, burned the fuck out of his face, lost his mind, thought the feds were shocking his dick.
Yeah.
That's strife, dude.
That is strife.
That is Deborah in the fucking world of fire.
And then died in a Walmart bathroom.
Yeah, that is chaos.
It's awful.
It is. Like, that is awful. And that is just, his shit spun out of control. Mm-hmm. And I mean, as far as fives go in the tarot, 5 wands probably the friendliest of the fives.
I agree.
Yeah, like probably 5 wands, 5 discs, 5 swords, 5 cups in that order of the shitty cards. Like they're not good.
Shit.
Yeah, they're not good, but 5 of wands has an element of competition. At least you can win, right? And honestly, if he had been in less of a fucking vacuum, and if he had been less shady about it, but I mean, he never would have been able to do it in the first place. He should have just fucking waited.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he should have just fucking done his shit, been the Eagle Scout, goes to college, become a nuclear fucking physicist.
Yeah.
Like, he could have done that. You just couldn't wait.
No, he couldn't.
Yeah.
He needed to, like, trudge forward, open up that box, and he didn't want to wait.
I mean, I do, like, I somewhat get it.
I do too. I understand the desire to understand the dangerous thing. I want to build a super weapon that will change the world for the better.
I want to build a super weapon so I understand how the super weapon works so I can steer the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't trust other people to steer the fucking thing. Right? Like, I get that. I don't know. We need people like David Hahn.
We do.
We fucking need them.
I wish his story had a better ending.
Yeah.
I wish that his story was different.
I wish he had a more supportive environment.
Yeah, because, again, neither of his parents seemed to really have any fucking clue what he was doing other than, oh, you're exploding shit, go in the basement. Okay, that's too many explosions.
Yeah.
Go do that at your other person's house.
Right. I mean, dude, crazy people need other crazy people to keep them in check.
Like, did anyone really engage with him to ask him, like, what are you doing and why? Like, what is... If
someone who understood what radiation is had talked to him, they'd be like, bro, don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Or other people. Also, why are you getting arrested for stealing tires? That's the other, we never cracked that one. Yeah. He might have just been stealing hubcaps to sell them to fund his fucking nuclear addiction.
Yeah, he was.
in which case.
Tires and rims.
I think he was just stealing tires to sell them. Perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be it.
In which case, that's where you fucked up. Also, if you're driving around with radioactive material to the point that you have to warn someone who's about to stick their hand back there, it's also a fuck up.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, we fucking need people like that. I don't know why, but we do.
We absolutely do. Like, I wouldn't love it if my neighbor was doing it.
No, I'd be pretty upset.
Yeah.
So I do have double standards and I don't care.
Right. Like, I don't want my neighbor doing it.
Yeah. Not in my backyard.
No. But I'm not necessarily mad that it happened. Like, I'm, despite
complementarity.
Yeah. Despite him endangering himself and his community.
Yeah.
and ultimately paying the price for it with his own life.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? There's something to learn here. There's something to admire here, at least, even though it ended in strife. Part of me is kind of jealous of his ability to zero in on that thing and be like, okay, I'm just learning about it. I'm going to learn about it. I'm going to
follow through. Yeah.
Follow through.
Yeah. And I mean, it also like it, I think it's also a worthwhile story in that until you read about this motherfucker, the idea that you can just build a nuclear reactor is completely alien.
That's the other thing, too, is this idea that this person just did that.
Right. Like these are just ingredients. This is just parts. This is just chemistry. Everything's chemistry. You can just fucking do that at a small scale. Yeah. And I think that is, you know what? That's a valuable contribution, I think, because it demystifies this shit.
Yeah. Something that only the NRC can do.
Right. No. That's a thing humans can do. Yeah.
That's a thing that anybody can do if you have the right materials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you realize like, oh, the difference between David Hahn and, you know, a nuclear power plant is just scale. But nuclear reactors are a thing that humans can build, right? And that's not necessarily something you think of. You think it's something that a state can build, a government can build. Yeah. And that's true for every technology as well, right? Once the information is there. Fucking wild, though. What a ridiculous asshole.
Yeah. Just before we wrap up, I want to share this little bit from the FBI document.
Sure.
The person who let them know that Hahn believes people have the ability to shock his genitals with their minds, and has studied witchcraft. Okay, this friend of his told the FBI, yes, David thinks that his genitals are being shocked, but I've tried to reassure him. I've studied witchcraft, and I know that that's not possible.
It's the wrong type of collaboration.
Yeah.
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 Oh my God.
Man. Yeah, this is the friend that also snitched and said, oh yeah, he's still trying to build that nuclear reactor.
God damn it.
Man. Oh, and he caused a fire in his house while using telephone poles as electrical transformers.
Well, you know what? Maybe you should have been stopped.
He was stopped.
Yeah.
Stopped at
Jesus.
89.
Fucking A.
Yeah, God. I've studied witchcraft, and I'm here to assure you that it is not possible for people to be shocking your genitals from a distance. I've studied witchcraft, and I'm going to tell you it is.
Maybe.
Totally is.
Yeah?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sure, too.
Yeah. I don't know how, but...
I'm zapping somebody right now. They know who they are. Okay.
All right. Well, guys, if you like what we do, you can follow us on social media. You can give us a rating and review. You can tell your friends. And if you really like what we do, you can join our Patreon for just $5 a month. Get access to bonus episodes and our Patreon Discord server. There's no bonus episode this week because your ass is going to Vermont.
That's right.
Yeah, go see the old solar eclipse.
Yep.
Fuckaroo. I really hope it's not cloudy. I may go as well, but I'm waiting to see what the weather does because I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it's gonna be really snowy up there too.
Yeah, but yeah, so we'll have a bonus episode next week instead. And yeah. Thank you guys for listening, supporting us. Tune in next week, and catch you on the flip side. Don't take the wrong lesson from this one.
Keep your smoke detectors on
intact.
Yeah, you need that.
Like maybe make your potting shed out of lead. How about that?
All right.
Take care, guys. Peace.
Take care. Peace out.